Hey there, I'm Ben. I made Pride and Prejudice with guns. If you want to know how I did it, you came to the right place. If you're only interested in one particular aspect, feel free to skip to it. Otherwise, I'll meet you in a few seconds. A few months ago, I got the sudden urge to adapt a scene from classic literature. For some reason, I thought this would be a fun directorial exercise. At the same time, I had just completed work on a 20s gangster short called Pen, Paper, and Six in the Chamber, and really wanted to do another action movie. After waffling back and forth on which project to pursue, my brain came to a sudden realization.
I can do them both at once.
Why Pride and Prejudice? For this idea to work, I thought I had to pick material that did not already contain physical violence. This excluded most Shakespeare and a lot of public domain American literature. Pride and Prejudice works well because there's no martial confrontation and there's a really memorable moment that's subtextually not that far away from something like this. It's chapter 34 if you want to follow along. I hesitated briefly because I know a popular gag gift adaptation called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies already exists. I didn't want to be derivative, but then I realized that adapting a 200-year-old novel is a pretty unoriginal endeavor, no matter how you slice it. I suppose I could have just chosen another book by Jane Austen, but I haven't read any of them. To do this movie right, I knew we had to nail two things. The first, Pride and Prejudice. The second, guns. We'll talk about Pride and Prejudice first, because I know that's what everybody's most interested in. To sell the idea of 1800s gentry, we needed to nail the costumes. In the past, I've generally had people show up to movies in whatever they were already wearing. More recently, I've realized that a good costume is one of the cheapest, easiest ways to add production value to a movie. The girls in the movie were all able to borrow dresses from local theater groups. This was a huge help because I'm no closer to making sense of women's clothing than I am to solving the mystery of Stonehenge. The men, I knew, probably wouldn't come as prepared. This meant I had to scrounge around for a lot of their costume components myself.
Alright, so let's break down a typical Pride and Prejudice costume.
Started with the pants. Everybody involved had a pair of navy or black dress pants just lying around. I had everybody bring their own dress shoes for the feet. For Mr. Darcy, I borrowed these two small women's snow boots from my mom. Everybody was able to supply their own plain white dress shirt. The key component to selling this costume is the cravat. For that, I got a piece of white fabric and cut strips. We did not look up the proper method to actually tie the knot. Instead, we just wrapped it around our necks and tucked in the ends. Looks pretty good. Now, if you want to get fancy, you can accessorize. These vests I've acquired over the years from various thrift stores. I don't think I've ever spent more than $2 on any one of them. Next comes the coat. It took some looking, but I was able to find enough of these at various thrift stores. Again, I don't think I paid more than $5 for any one of them. The lace on Darcy's coat was some fabric I borrowed from my mom, and I duct taped it to the inside of the sleeves. Finally, the hat. I bought 4 of these at a costume store for $2.50 each. Add it all up, and you've got a very credible 1810s outfit for the low, low price of
$9.50.
Hey man, I want to hear about them guns.
Alright, fine. Over here. This is our Pride and Prejudice arsenal. Minus a couple guns that went missing in action. Most of the guns in the movie are airsoft guns. Some I borrowed, some I already had, and some I just bought. Exceptions include the flintlock, which I found in the toy section of Gander Mountain. The lasers are knockoff Nerf guns that I spray painted black and white. As for the shotgun, well, this is a shotgun. So we've got our guns, we got our costumes. Let's go shoot the movie. For me, there are 3 indispensable items I bring to every movie shoot. Number 1, camera. We shot Pride and Prejudice with the hopelessly obsolete Canon XL1. This was a great workhorse camera for its time, but, sadly, that time has passed. My particular model has really been through the ringer. It's been doused with fake blood numerous times, and even accompanied me on a spill off the back of a 4-wheeler. Item 2 is the script, which is obvious, and item 3, my storyboards.
I'm a smart man. I graduated top of my class at Oxford, and I aced 8 years of higher education. But how Ben gets anything out of the indecipherable chicken scratch in those notebooks it's beyond me.
I don't know what that smart man guy is talking about. Check out this side-by-side comparison.
I've never decided to put a Continue, Mr. Darcy.
See? Makes perfect sense. So, we got our camera, we got our script, we got our storyboards. It's time to pile into the pickup and head on over to the location. We shot this movie on a golf course an hour west of Columbus, where most of the cast and crew live.
I'm ready.
You look great in all these pictures.
Oh yeah, I need a microphone.
The ownership was super cool about letting us film there. They even put a fleet of golf carts at our disposal. Huge thanks to Art Costin and the Tree Links Golf Course. Because I wanted to make a big thing out of this, really blow out the execution, I scheduled a shoot for a weekend months in advance. This ensured maximum pro bono participation from my friends.
Hope you got that. I feel like I want to say like, well, what's my proposal? But like that's.
And one of the most obvious challenges I encountered was directing myself.
I feel like I am not good enough of an actor to get that by just saying one word.
This is something I don't usually do, and the only reason I did it on this project was because I didn't think I could convince any of my friends to actually read the book. Because I can be quite particular about my camera work, I made heavy use of a body double.
Hi, well, what happened over there?
In vain! Okay, Kevin, you're gonna do another close-up of this gun being pulled out.
Where I was actually acting, I used my old friend Kevin as a camera op. Since he's been with me for so long, I was able to trust his judgment to tell me when we got to take right.
And then, alright, we're gonna do that real quick.
You might have period hat hair.
Oh, really? Oh, that's lame. So I'm not gonna look like, I'm gonna be like super dashing for all the chicks watching this?
The language in Pride and Prejudice can be a bit tricky. Jane Austen's dialogue is very written. Stylized speech works really well in literature, but on screen it's often a bit harder to realize.
Why was so evident as
See? The same thing I was doing.
Obviously, this project called for a lot of effects. In the past, I primarily used real guns for my guns. While this is more fun and delivers a terrific result, it's expensive and impossible to do covertly. Plus, on a project that called for so many different guns, buying ammo for each would have exponentially inflated the budget. Instead, I went into the computer. I employed a similar strategy for bullet hits. In productions past, we've hooked up an insecticide sprayer to victims and blasted fake blood out of them that way. This works great in many situations, but for a project like this, where so many people get shot, it's not really practical to set up. Removing the apparatus also makes it easier to time up performances.
and then boom.
With physical effects, it's much harder to get both the gun and the hit to go off at the same time. When both are digitally drawn in, you have much more creative freedom. Additionally, taking the pressure out of what were previously unrehearsable moments really allows you to concentrate on the performance, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of any shot.
Faster. Yeah, forget what I said and just fall down faster.
There's so many resources available to movie makers right now. If you don't know how to do a particular effect, the answer is usually only a YouTube or Google search away. There's almost no excuse for not learning some of this stuff.
Actually an old-timey gun, but we just won't show it. It'll just be like the top of it, which has got a real long
How are you
barrel,
going to
so.
do the bluish orb of energy? That's what I want to know.
Wait.
I just read the script.
Didn't you see the
So,
thing?
how did we do the bluish orb of energy? Here's a breakdown. Step 1, get the performance right. A shot like this isn't acting intensive, but there are still a few things to consider. Elizabeth's gun needs to look like it's actually pointed at the thug. The timing between the recoil and the thug's reaction needs to be perfect.
Is that too early?
You went, no, you just
I
went in
went
too
too
far. Like
The thug has to make it to the right point on the path. Finally, because I'll be digitally panning the camera upward, I need the top of the actress's body to stop before it gets to the top of the frame. After I get a good take, I tell the actors to clear out so I can get a clean slate. Next, I film a few of the surrounding areas so I can combine the shots to simulate a camera move. Using After Effects' Advanced Lightning plugin and Video Copilot's Lightning Strike and Lightning Explosion tutorials, I create the gun blast. If I turn off the forking and bolster the core radius, this starts to look more like a laser beam than a lightning bolt. To blow Kevin apart, we use After Effects' Pixel Poly effect and the stock elements from Video Copilot's Action Movie Essentials 2-pack. If I marry all the background effects to the original footage, I can digitally move the camera from the force of the blast. Check out Freddie W's digital panning tutorial to get an idea of how to do this. Here's the complete shot minus the cut that occurs in the final video. So, in this overview, I focused primarily on the technical aspects of my process. That's all well and good, but if I could, I'd like to take a little moment here to get a bit artsy with it.
Yeah, man, get artsy with it.
You see, as much as this may seem like just another silly YouTube video, I think that this is a legitimate visualization of the chapter from the novel. You see, you can't really just have people getting shot for no reason. That's not that compelling. There needs to be a good artistic justification.
Next time on Slaughterhouse Theater.
You examined me, Monsieur. Tell me, do you think me handsome?
Jane Eyre with lightsabers.